So good morning. First of all, I just wanted to take a minute before Cam comes up and say thank you, because I know so many of you have been praying for my health. I know Ted and Shaw and so many others. You know the situation where Cam has shared. And so I just very much appreciate that prayer. God's at work. I feel great. And so it's so good to be here. But I also, more than that, want to thank you for praying for Cam during this time, because he is one of those that wants to just fix it, make me better, and instead of having to wait on God to do what he's doing. And so it's been hard for him during this time. So I appreciate your prayers for him. That's just really been helpful. And then I also want to just say this too. I am so happy for this ministry. Iron Sharpens Iron, ISI. I get excited when Cam sets his alarm to get up early on a Saturday morning and come here, because it means something to me as his wife to know that he is taking that time to go and be with other men who love Jesus, and to be able to have that discipleship, that fellowship, that accountability with other men. And that provides such a security and a peace even within our relationship, because I know when he's focused on that vertical relationship with God, it only helps those horizontal relationships with other people. And so I am just really grateful for this ministry. So thank you, men, for doing this, because it makes a difference for the wives and the families too. So I do want to say that what Cam's going to be sharing today, I'm going to kind of take a front row seat and watch more so and participate with the slides, but he's going to share today. And I can tell you I've had the privilege of having a front row seat of watching what God's been doing in his life, especially these last few years. He has really just been transforming Cam into a man who really wants to serve God by serving others. And I know sometimes people can, talk about the things that they've done or what's going on in their lives, and you don't know if it's true. But I will tell you, I'm a witness of it. What he's going to share with you today is some of those circumstances that God uses in your life to shape and develop you to be able to handle the things that you're going to be going through in life, and to be able to use that to help others. And so I'm really excited for what he's going to share today. And so without further ado, I'm just going to have him come on up.
That's the servant leader right there. Man, I love that girl. So when Dana was in Mayo 3 weeks ago for her 6-day experimental treatment on her bone marrow failure disease, guess what she did for 6 days? She prayed for all you guys. She's like, this is my chance to pray for you, not myself. I don't even know if she ever prayed for herself or her health. She's such a servant. And then so she gets out of Mayo on Wednesday night. Thursday morning, she wakes up at like 4:15 and argues with me, insisting on she drive my brother to work because he needs a ride. The very next morning, right out of Mayo, she lives her life to serve others, and I've learned about Jesus and his servantship my whole life, and then there's Dana that actually teaches me to serve like Jesus. Dana's favorite thing right now, she does teach 5th grade also at CCV, but her favorite way to serve is both of her grandparents. She has one grandparent that doesn't have much money. He lives in Tennessee. He's a widower. Dana really enjoys sending him money every month. She loves that, gets joy from that. Her other grandparents, they live here in Phoenix, but they can't really get out. So Dana does all their grocery shopping for them. She loves it. And with her disease and her diagnosis, we don't know when the Lord's going to call her home. It could be tomorrow. It could be another 50 years. I mean, this is a very rare thing going on with her. But she doesn't care. She's like, I know Hebrews 9, we're appointed man wants to die. I know. That's an appointment I'm not going to miss. But I don't care if I die tomorrow. Today, I'm going to serve my grandparents. And it's just amazing. Okay, before we get started, you need to know that you can click through this right here was all a fraud and a fake. My whole football career was a failure. I'm the world's shortest and worst NFL football career. Nothing like Pastor Travis Brown. I mean, I had teams give me interest and none of them hired me. And yeah, what a dope. Look at that face. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Cardinals, I played 2 preseason games with them. I only scored 4 points. I missed a field goal against the Rams, fired me 8 hours later. So we played that game at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. We were the Phoenix Cardinals back then. We get in the buses from Sun Devil Stadium. We bust back up to Flagstaff, because I don't know if you remember, we used to have our training camps up in Flagstaff. Go to bed super late at night. At like 6:15 in the morning, I get a knock on my door. It's one of the assistant coaches. He says, Bear, get your coach wants to see you. Bring your playbook. I'm like, oh, interesting. Don't know what that means. I'm a 22-year-old rookie. So I get my playbook. I walk into the coach's office. The coach then was Joe Bugle. I don't know if anyone remembers that name. Phoenix Cardinals. He says 3 words. 4 words. I don't trust you. And handed me a plane ticket. I didn't know it was a plane ticket. I took it. It was yellow. He says, this is your plane ticket. Your flight leaves in 22 minutes. Your car is waiting for you outside. I'm like, wait, what? That's it? That's how I'm fired? I thought you got a pink slip on your locker when you're fired from the NFL. No, it's more brutal than that. But what about, and he kept interrupting me. No, your car is waiting outside. Go, you got to go now. I couldn't even go back to my dorm room and get my stuff. I couldn't say goodbye to any of my friends on the team. So I literally walked out, holding this plane ticket, walked outside, and there's my car, and the guy's standing there like this, kind of embarrassed, doesn't want to look at me because he knows that I just been fired. Oh, by the way, I was the first person fired that year from the whole National Football League. Second game in preseason. Not good. Get in the car. He drives me to the Flagstaff Tiny Airport, drives right out onto the tarmac next to this tiny little propeller airplane. There's no one to greet me. The pilots are in there hiding. They're all ashamed. What a loser. I get on there. I'm still holding my plane ticket. Flies me all the way back to Sky Harbor. It's like 6:50 in the morning now. I'm walking through Sky Harbor Airport with nothing but a plane ticket. I'm like spinning in my head. Okay, I was just here in Phoenix 12 hours ago playing a game. Why do they bust me and then fly me back? So I didn't know what to do. So I walked through the airport, went to a collect phone and collect calls. Yeah. 1993. Hello? Dad? Oh, hey, kiddo. What's up? Good game last night. I need a ride. What, from Flagstaff? Is it working? It's in and out. So my dad put on a robe or something, came and picked me up from Sky Harbor. Silence all the way home. And that was it. I never got another phone call from any other 31 teams. Nothing. My whole NFL career is over. I was not paid a dime on the contract. I made absolutely no money. A Canadian Football League called me, so I went to a Canadian team for 5 days. They fired me. Came back to Arizona. Arizona Rattlers hired and fired me 3 different times. Then I met Dana my last year with the Rattlers. So if we're keeping track, I've been fired 5 times, 3 different leagues, and 3 times by the same team. Not a career. So I met Dana, we get married, and she comes to, poor Dana, she got to see 1 football game I ever played, and it was my worst. It was with the Arizona Rattlers, and back then in 1995, Rattler games were huge. They played in America West Arena, and they won the national championship the year before, so it was sold out every game. They had 15,505 fans, standing room only. And it was very electric. So Dana gets tickets, and she goes, sits up in the VIP section. and I just stunk. I missed a whole bunch of kicks. It was brutal. I knew I was going to get fired again. So I walked back into the locker room. Danny White's like, yeah, you're done. Go. So I go to meet Dana in the parking lot. Oh, but back during that game, something happened. I was booed. And not just booed, they booed the snot out of me. I remember I missed a field goal. I was like on the 50-yard line. And it's one thing to be booed by people. That's bad. It's bad to have commentators talk bad about you on ESPN. Like, what's this guy even doing here? He doesn't deserve to be here. That's bad too. But to be booed by 15,505 fans is so bad. It's almost good. I was like, bring it. And then I walked in the locker room and was totally deflated again because I was fired again. And I was ashamed, and I knew I had to go walk to the parking lot and meet Dana. So I meet Dana, and she's like in tears, kind of half sad, half mad. And I'm like, babe, it's okay. I just got fired again. She's like, no. I rode the elevator down, and there were these people in there, and they were saying, man, our kicker sucks. He's horrible. He should be fired. What's he doing? And Dana's like, that's yeah, that was bad. So football is a facade. It was a failure. Okay, so our key verse today, by the way, playing pro football made me a bad husband. And we're going to talk about that. 1 Corinthians 9:25, all athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to obtain a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So football to me was very perishable. I mean, every time I tried to grab that, it disappeared. It was like a vapor. So back then, Paul's talking about the athletes. Football, of course, wasn't invented, but the Olympics were. It was the Isthmian Games. And in the Isthmian Games, there were 4 events: boxing, spears, jumping, and race. And then we'd have no idea how far the race is. But in this passage here, Paul's talking about all athletes run the race and only one wins the prize. And he's talking about extreme amounts of discipline. He knows that the champions in the Isthmian Games have spent their whole lives training for this. Dedication and determination. And what they win was this, an olive wreath. And they were very cool at first, but Paul knows what they look like shortly after. In fact, when the guys would compete back in the Isthmian Games, it was only the guys. So the winners would take home their wreath, and then after about a week, they'd look like this. Totally perishable. So Paul's saying the word "it" is the determination and dedication it took to get there, to try to win, spend all that time and energy. Dedication is time, determination is energy. All for this. And that's Paul's point. Okay, why? Is that a good idea? Is that what God wants us to be doing? How much time and energy, dedication, determination do you took for me to get to where I got in football? It's probably hard to even imagine. Every spare minute I would kick footballs, I would travel, I would nonstop doing anything to work on that skill set. So think about this for a second. Probably none of you in here has ever kicked a football. But there's something that you spend your time and energy on. There's something that you spend your determination and your dedication on. And it's easy to try to predict what the American male spends his time and energy on the most. It's earning. It's your job. It's your career. That's ingrained in us in America. We want to get hired, and we want to advance. And then we try super hard to promote. And then we want to earn, we want to save, we want to acquire, we want to retire. I mean, we spend 20 to 60 years doing that. Most of our time and energy, 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, times the years. That's most of our time and energy. The funny thing is Jesus never talked about business with his guys. He never sat down and said stuff like, okay, Peter, James, John, Zebedee, you can join us. We got one boat here, one fishing boat. Okay, what are we going to do to get that to 2 boats? Okay, and our business plan, what we need, let's try to get to 3. And then when we get to 3, we can do 3 8-hour shifts, so it covers all 24 hours, and we can have a supervisor on each ship, and then you can have 30 people underneath you. And then when you get to 10 ships, 10 fishing vessels, then you can franchise, and then you can retire. Pretty sure I never read that conversation anywhere. So, growing up in the 80s, high school, there was a bunch of catchphrases that were kind of invented. And they were, you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. Or, you can achieve your dreams if you work hard enough. And I was taught all that stuff. And for me, I believed in it. I wanted to achieve great things because in high school, I was kind of a loser. So what I wanted to achieve after high school was to people think I was a winner. I didn't really chase the dollar and want to be financially successful, but I wanted to achieve. I wanted people to see me differently based on my accomplishments. I wanted to make something great of myself. All right, you already see a red flag with that? So, I ran the wrong race. Time and time and time again. And it was not just football. Because God had not gotten a hold of my heart and totally changed my life and changed my purpose and my direction yet. So when I was fired and football was finally over, I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do? What am I going to achieve? What am I going to accomplish? I don't want people to see me as a loser football player. Okay, what am I going to do next? So what race did I run next, Dana? Oh, weightlifting. I started doing competition powerlifting. For 10 years, I lived in a gym, chasing, keep my body weight down and my strength up. What's this? This is a national championship trophy. Garbage. In fact, all that's good for right now, literally, is it keeps our front door open on cool nights. It's a doorstop. That's the truth. What's this right here, Dana? Oh, yeah. American record. I'm sure it's been broken. And it was for a weightlift called the strict curl. No one even knows what that is. It's not even worth bragging about. So 10 years of weightlifting, then what'd I do? What'd I go chase? Oh yeah, golf. I love golf. Guess how many hours I spent on the driving range? A lot. I even worked at a golf course. Played a lot. These are 3 scorecards, all with a hole-in-one on them. Means nothing. Anybody can get a hole-in-one. They're all luck. What else did I chase? Oh, wrote a book. Anyone can write a book. Easy. It's hard to sell books. Yeah. Didn't we even pay to have that published? It sold like 400. We made like broke even. What else, Dana? Oh yeah, patent. So I basically spent 2 years in the laboratory and inventing something, and then awarded the patent. Again, it's easy to invent something. It's very hard to make money off it. And I did not. Then what? Oh yeah, I'm not doing weightlifting. I think I'll do running races. Marathons, triathlons, 5Ks. That's what I thought the race was. I thought the race was a chase. Chasing your dreams. Making your dreams come true. There's no Jesus in any of my races. There was no serving others in any of my races. God used a race to teach me what the race needs to be. There's a verse in Jeremiah. These are garbage. Jeremiah 33:3 says, "Are you seeking great things for yourself? Do not seek them." And I thought, that's a Bible verse I've been disobeying for 50 years. So I go to a triathlon, and a triathlon is three disciplines in one. It's swimming, then biking, and then running. Swim, bike, run. You'll see it in the Olympics. They always start super early in the morning, like 4:30 in the morning when it's dark, because after the swim, then there's the bike course, and the bike course is always on streets, and they have to close all traffic. So if you've ever been around Tempe during Ironman, you know, triathlons close traffic all over for the bike course. So they start in the dark. So I'm standing there at the water's edge with several hundred other triathletes, and we're all getting ready, getting loose, looking at the water. The water's very dark. You can't see anything, and as a triathlete in the water, the only thing you need to see is the next buoy, and they always have reflectors. So when you come up, you look for a buoy. So I'm standing there getting ready in the water. It's pitch black, and somebody says, "Look, he's finishing." And I looked at a distance, and all I could see was a small boat and some splashing. I'm thinking, what in the world is that? A boat? No way. What's the splashing? And there was some commotion. Didn't think anything of it. Got in the water, swam, got out, hopped on my bike, got out of the water. I was in like 21st place out of the water. Not a good swimmer. Got on my bike and started hammering. So, okay, who am I going to ride down? I'm going to ride down all these elite swimmers that beat me out of the water. Start passing people on the left, and about 10 miles into the bike course, I see a group of bikes, and I'm going to the left, and I'm coming up, and I can tell one of them has a white flag, a white stick with an orange flag on the back. I'm thinking, what in the world is that? A children's bike? So I get up to the group, and there are several bikes all around it, and I yell left, and I go by the left, and I look, and I could see what I thought was a bike pulling a trailer. And I thought, that was weird. So rack my bike, put on my running shoes, and take off on the running course, and there's like 6 guys ahead of me, and I'm thinking, okay, do what you do, Cam, reel them in, run them down. You got 3.1 miles to do it. So I start clicking off the meters, passing one by one, passing all the way. There's only one guy in front of me, about a half mile left. I reel him in, I pass him. I'm going, okay, I'm winning this whole thing. Get to the finish line. I'm in first. Not many people greeted me. I'm like, what is this? Usually winners are mobbed. But as I passed through, someone took off my ankle chip. Someone gave me a water, but there was only like 2 or 3 people there, but there was like 150 people gathered up over to the side. And I turned around and I was like, what's going on over there? I'm out of breath, and I kind of just walking over. And then I hear someone say, "Look, here he comes." And I looked, and sure enough, on the run course, here comes somebody running, pushing a jogging stroller. And I'm going, what in the world? Oh my gosh. Somebody swam pulling somebody in a boat, rode that person on the bike course in a trailer, and is now pushing him in a stroller on the run course. And he's right behind me. Who is this beast? I'm thinking, okay, it's either Lewis Elliott or it's Ben Canute. One of them is an elite United States team triathlete, and one is a United States Olympian triathletes. I mean, I know my time, and I know what it would take to get there. I'm thinking, this is one of those super famous athletes. I gotta see who it is. So I run over, get through the crowd. He comes through around. I still can't see because there's too many people. Gets through the finish line, and I make my way up to see if it's either Lewis or Ben, and it was not Lewis or Ben. In fact, it wasn't even a man. It was a 16-year-old Boy Scout. And in the stroller was his 14-year-old brother who had a terminal illness. And I looked in the stroller, and he was sitting there like this. The 14-year-old couldn't even put his head up. And it was the 14-year-old's dying wish, before I die, I want to be able to race a triathlon like you do, big brother. And that 16-year-old sacrificed his own race to race for somebody else. It was the single most act of selflessness that I've ever seen in my life. And the 16-year-old went and picked up his brother's arms and held him up like this. And he said, "You did it. You did it. You did it." And the boy we had heard passed 90 days later. I talked to Dana. I said, "Dana, I haven't done a darn thing. I've been doing everything for myself. It stops now." So I went home, got on the computer, and I found, I did a search. Okay, the only thing I knew how to do was be a pastor because I was already in the ministry and got my master's. And I said, I need to get back into the pulpit. To me, the way I need to serve, or the way I thought serving was being a pastor. But by the way, that's not the case. I found a tiny little church at 27th Avenue in Northern that is searching for a pastor. So I grabbed Dana and the kids, and I said, okay, we're going to this church. We get there, it's kind of in the ghetto hood, it's extremely poor, and there was almost nobody in the church. We go sit down in the pews. They have some guest speaker. We're thinking, oh man, we felt sorry for this church. I'm thinking, okay, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And so a gentleman comes to me and he says, hey, we're so glad to have you guys here today. Can you stay for our carnival? And I said, carnival? Okay, sounds fun. So we walk outside to this grass right here. There's one picnic table. See those two children's toys? They weren't there then. I just took that picture the other day. There was one picnic table and one popcorn machine and a bunch of old clothes laying on the grass right around that picnic table. And that was carnival. This church was so selfless. They're like, we have nothing, but this is what we do. Homeless people come and they get a free popcorn and they can go through the used clothes. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this church that has nothing is giving everything? And sure enough, homeless people started coming, going through the clothes and getting popcorn. And me and Dana were sitting on that picnic table with a gentleman named Ken, and I heard scratchy noise, and I looked over on the sidewalk, and there's this lady pushing a shopping cart full of stuff. She was probably 70, wearing like a grandma's nightgown, pushes it over, stops on the sidewalk and walks over the grass and starts looking at the clothes. And I look down at her feet and she's not wearing shoes. She only has socks. And I said to Dana, she's not wearing shoes. She said, oh yeah, look, let's see if we can find her shoes. We looked and there were no shoes, just old clothing lying around. So I was like, oh, what do we do? Do you have any money, Dana? She says, yeah, here, I've got a 20. So I took the 20. I sat on that picnic table, and I went to Ken, who was the church leader. I said, Ken, can the church buy her some shoes? And Ken went, I think you just go buy her some shoes. So I'm like almost 50. I've been a pastor. I've never bought somebody a pair of shoes that didn't have them my entire life. Here I am thinking I was basically a Pharisee Christian, an educated one, not a heart-living one. Does that make sense? Yep. I was ashamed of myself. Okay. And I'm thinking, how do we do this? Dana, what do we do? Dana, can you ask her size? Dana asks her size. She tells Dana. She says her name's Pam. And so we get her and the kids. Pam, wait here. We went to Kmart at 27th Avenue in Northern. Coulter, you come with me. We're going to go get Gatorades and a little ice chest and some snacks. Cammy, you go with Dana, and you guys go get shoes and socks. And we split up in Kmart. We met at the register. We got our stuff. We came back. We gave it all to Pam. Pam was like super thankful. She put the shoes on her feet and acted like it was the first pair of shoes she'd ever put on in her life. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I've seen a lot of homeless people, but I've never seen one literally without shoes. Who doesn't have shoes? They're almost free. Pam walks through the grass in her new shoes, puts all her stuff into her shopping cart on the sidewalk right there, and then starts pushing it. Super noisy. She had those wheels that are scratching on the sidewalks. And I looked and I saw she was about ready to go to the intersection right there. You got the next photo, Dana? Right there is the intersection. She gets to that red sidewalk, goes past the yellow, and I'm watching her, and I turned to Dana and I said, Dana, did we do enough? And she said, babe. And then we heard silence. For some reason, I didn't hear her shopping cart anymore. So I turned around and looked, and that's what I saw. Poof. She just disappeared in thin air. That is a true story. Now, I'm not going to tell you what happened or what I saw or what. Who did we just entertain? Y'all know the verse. Hebrews 13. Don't forget to show hospitality to strangers with love, because you never know, you might be entertaining an angel. I'm not going to say Pam was an angel. All I'm going to say is us four bought her some shoes and Gatorades, and she disappeared. I have no explanation. I'm not going to tell you I entertained an angel, but that is what we saw. There is nowhere for her to hide. That dirt lot over there goes all the way back to the trees. She pushed that cart at like 1 mile an hour. It was super loud. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh. What is this feeling? I had goosebumps. I'm like, Dana, we just bought someone a pair of shoes. She liked it. She's gone. I think I found a new hobby. New hobby. Is it really new? Is that a new hobby? No. Jesus had been doing that 2,000 years ago. Not buying people shoes, but giving people new feet. Jesus came to give, not to get. And in those 3 years that he walked the earth, in the Gospels, it was recorded like over 300 acts of service. That's all Jesus did, was something for somebody else. Never chased his dreams. Never said, I want to be successful. He didn't teach the guys to be the best fishermen in the world. He taught them to wash feet. There's a funny story in John chapter 21. This is the only gospel that records it. And what's refreshing to me, Jesus being the ultimate servant of all, is that me being a bad servant, I wasn't alone. The disciples were pretty bad too. So Jesus in his resurrected body appears to the guys who are eating dinner one night, and Thomas is there, because Thomas has not seen Jesus' resurrected body. He kind of doesn't believe. I don't believe you guys. So Jesus shows up in this room, eats dinner, shows Thomas his wounds, tells Thomas, yeah, blessed are, you believe because you've seen, but blessed are those who have believed and have not seen. So Jesus is like, okay, you believe me now? You see? Yeah, okay. You guys go about your business. I'm gone. And then Jesus disappears right through the walls again with his resurrected body. Peter, in John chapter 21, goes like this with his chair. Well, I'm going to work. Jesus was probably hovering somewhere going, really, Peter? 3 years watching me doing all these things with you? That's what you're going to do? Go back to work? Yep, I'm going fishing. And the other guys in that room, they said, all right, we'll go with you. Jesus is like, I told you guys, it's not about business. It's about serving others. Did you not learn anything in my 3 years? And it's really interesting how Jesus taught them again. He didn't go and yell at them and teach them. He says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to serve my disciples again. So in John 21, Jesus gathered sticks and some rocks and some ingredients to make bread and got some fish, and he makes this fire and charcoal, and it says he baked bread for the guys. I'm going to make breakfast for them. I'm going to serve them. Because they obviously forgot everything I taught them. They're trying to grow this fishing business. So Jesus says, I'm making a breakfast. The guys come in at night. They've been fishing all night after the dinner that Jesus just appeared to them. Jesus knows that they didn't catch anything. He says, cast your nets on the other side. You'll catch a bunch. They did. They caught 153 big fish. Jesus says, hey, bring some of those fish up here. We'll cook those too. And then, this is my favorite verse. One of the last things Jesus ever said before he leaves the planet. Verse 13. Verse 12 says, now come and have some breakfast, Jesus said to them. Verse 13 says, then Jesus served them the bread and fish. And then he's like, Peter, do you love me more than these? More than these people? More than yourself? More than making money? More than your fishing business? He asked him 3 times. Feed my sheep. Care for my people. Serve others. Then it clicked for Peter. Just like it had clicked for me when I saw that 16-year-old Boy Scout. Because in Acts chapter 2, Peter's gathered with his disciples, and I'll just read it to you. It says, they sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. Peter said, my fishing business is not important. Helping and serving others that need more is most important. And the Lord added to them daily all who were being saved. So I'm sitting at that picnic table. Can you go back one? Pam has just disappeared. Me and Dana and the kids and Ken sitting right across from me. We're literally speechless. I've got this new hobby. It's firing me up. I say, Ken, is there anybody else that we can help? He pointed to a lady in the grass and who had 3 kids. And he said, her name's Angelique. She is a single mom. She lives in a 1-bedroom apartment right across the street. And she has nothing. Maybe you can do something. Yeah, that's the apartment's right there. Maybe you can do something for her and her family for Christmas. So me and Dana say, okay, let's do something for this family for Christmas. We go home. We think about what to do. See, we got Angelique, her 3 kids. Her kids sleep on the floor. Let's ask other people to help us. So we asked relatives and friends and family, and relatives started saying stuff like, yeah, I totally want to help. I'll get Angelique a new wardrobe. Somebody else said, I'll get one of the other kids a totally new wardrobe. Someone said, I'll buy beds for them all. One said, since we're going to deliver on Christmas Eve, all their gifts, I'll prepare a Christmas feast for them. One of my relatives was a firefighter, so she solicited help from the local fire station, and every firefighter at that station solicited help from their families, and they all donated, and pretty soon we had like 50 people involved. So Christmas Eve, we roll up to Angelique's apartments, and 2 fire trucks in that parking lot right there, full of Christmas presents, a Christmas tree on it. We go and knock on her door. Angelique's there. We're like, Merry Christmas. And one by one, people started bringing in Christmas tree, present, 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 bed, 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 food. Angelique's just standing there speechless. And I'm like, oh my gosh. That's what hit me. So I was carrying some of the food, and I go over to her little stove. The stove, there's a pot, and then there's a tiny little counter in those apartments, one bedroom. And I put the food on the counter, and on the counter there was a bag of white rice, about 3 inches blank. And so I moved it, put something there, and I looked in the pot, and in the pot on Christmas Eve was about 1 inch of white rice that she was boiling for her and her 3 kids for Christmas Eve dinner. God showed up in this family because some person decided to ask, who else can I help? And I'm no good servant. I'm just, who can I help? You can bless somebody small, like a grape, $50 or $60, buy somebody's shoes, Gatorades, and you can take your grape and ask someone else to offer their grape, and pretty soon you got 50 grapes together, and you got a watermelon-sized blessing, and God can transform a family. I think someone even got Angelique a job. She has a whole new beds, everything, whole new life transformed. So it's time for me to start giving away some of my grapes. Christmas is over. That was the most amazing Christmas where we got to serve somebody instead of ourselves. So after Christmas, I start my workup again. I have a little lawn mowing business. I pull up to the gas station and fill up my gas, and I look at the corner. Right there, Safeway, 35th Avenue in Happy Valley. There's a gentleman sitting on the corner by that little power box holding up a sign that says food. Oh, maybe I can buy him a cup of coffee. I walk over to him. I say, hey, you hungry? Yeah. So we walk into Circle K, get him food. He says his name's Jeff. I say, Jeff, where do you live? He says, I live right there in those bushes. And that's Jeff. It turns out Jeff and I are exactly the same age. And he's been living in those bushes. That's him in the bushes. And his can of beer. He loves his beer. And his stomach is really big because he has end-stage liver disease because he's an alcoholic. And he wouldn't stop drinking. But he was a sweetheart. And he had absolutely no friends and no family and no love and no hope. And I'm just a lawnmower guy that just bought him coffee. So I'm like, Jeff, hey, when I come back here to get a Thirst Buster, I'll see if you're still here and we'll get a drink. Walked in, we got Thirst Buster, got him a hot dog, giving away more grapes. And I'm loving it. And the whole day mowing lawns, I was hoping he was there because it brought me joy to serve him. Jeff and I became very close friends. And Dana and I adopted him for 18 months. He didn't want to leave those bushes, but we brought him sleeping bags, tents, food, clothing. Dana drove him to the hospital, the doctors. We drove him to Flagstaff to a homeless shelter. He called us. He didn't like it. We went back and picked him up. Brought him back down. He went right back to the bushes at Circle K there. Bless his heart. So Christmas rolls around the next year, and we give Jeff our Christmas card. Hey, Jeff, this is our Christmas card. Jeff holds it, and he goes, who's that? And I said, who's who? And he pointed to the girl in the middle with the long brown hair and the blue top. And I said, well, that's Cammie, my daughter. I've been telling you about. He goes, Cammie, your daughter? And he said, yes. I'm like, why? He looked at it and he said, she gave me money even before you did. And I realized I had passed the baton without even knowing it. You see, the race is a relay race. And it started with Jesus. He ran the first leg for 3 years. And he turned to his guys and said, here, it's your turn. Go. run this race. And they would tell their kids, and they would tell their kids. And then me at age 50 would finally learn how to serve others. Apparently, Cammie saw me. She was with us when we gave to Pam, when we served Angelique. Cammie, for who knows how long, has been stopping at that Circle K, giving Jeff her tip money from Olive Garden before I went and bought him his first cup of coffee. That's what leaving a legacy is. It is not leaving money for your kids. It's leaving heart. Yeah. So what does that mean to us? Well, here at Iron Sharpens Iron, there's full of servants here, servant leaders. There's guys with amazing ministries. Tracy, watermelon-sized ministry, blessing tons of people. There's guys in here that buy someone a cup of coffee and just listen and pray for. There's people in here that have even ministered to me. When I get the diagnosis, and I'm like this, Ryan comes and picks up this shoulder. Mike picks up this shoulder. Ted lifts up my head. Not there. There you go, Cam. What are you running for? What race are you running? So here's our plan as we walk out the door today, and we're done. Pretend like your life before coming in here this morning is the first half of a football game, and this is our locker room speech right now. And we're going to go out there and play the second half. Regardless of how you lived your life in the past, I have to put my whole 50 years of chasing my dreams behind me, doing selfish things. Okay, what are we going to do now? What's our game plan when we leave here? Okay, these are, oh, by the way, you will not find any football artifact in my room. I don't have my jersey hanging on a wall or anything like that. I was number one. Kyler Murray's number one now. He's a little bit better than I. Yeah, it's a joke how bad I was. This is what our family represents right here. First, you come into my house, you're going to see that. Cammie, Coulter, and Dana, they give their lives away. They work and earn so they can help others. They achieve so they can share. It's amazing. That's our Bair family purpose. Tomorrow's Father's Day. I have one job. Serve my King and Creator and teach my kids to serve Him as well. And the way you serve God is by serving others. There's no greater joy. There is no greater joy than you using the specific gifts, talents, and strengths that God has given you very uniquely to use those to serve somebody else. Guaranteed 100% chance of smiles and joy. There's no better feeling. The best thing you can do for yourself is to do something for somebody else. So what routes are we going to run? What's our game plan? These are our questions. First of all, when you go home today with your wife, your husband, and possibly tomorrow with your kids, ask yourself, what have you been running for? What have you been chasing? What takes up most of your time and energy, your dedication, your determination? What's your driving purpose? Where's your heart? Is it earning? Is it achieving? Got a lot of garbage in that garbage can. A lot of wasted years. Second question we're going to ask is, guys, how can I be a better husband? This is humility right here. Pride says, I already am a good husband. Pride says, I don't care to improve. Humility says, babe, how can I be a better husband? The way you serve your wife is to know what she needs. Tomorrow, Father's Day, go to your kids. How can I be a better dad? I ask both my kids this. It's very rare that a dad asks his children, how can I be a better dad? As parents, we think, I've got it all together. I'm smarter, I'm wiser, I'm better. What can I learn from my kids? They should learn from me. No. This is them learning humility. Dad's humble enough and willing to improve. How can I be a better dad? And listen. Next play is, what family member, friend, coworker, stranger can I serve? Look around you. Jeff was at that corner for 5 years. I got gas there. Cammie was helping him before me. 5 years, I finally asked him, hey, you want a cup of coffee? It's amazing what you don't see if you're not looking. It's amazing how few people you think about when you're only thinking about yourself. And then our last question, instead of asking people at parties and get-togethers and when you meet a new stranger, instead of asking, so what do you do? That's a work-related, career-related. You find out what their job is and how much money they make, and you can determine if they're successful or not. Start asking people, hey, what's your favorite way to serve these days? I asked Dana's uncle that the other day, and he looked at me with cross-eyes. And he thought, and he said, well, I guess I do what I've always done. I fix things in people's houses. And I said, that's great. That's awesome. I didn't ask him about he's a fire chief, and I didn't ask him about his career. That's not important. What's important is you using your gifts and talents to serve God by serving people. And the last thing I'm going to say is, remember this. There is no greater joy than serving God by serving people. And the best thing you can ever do for yourself is to do something for somebody else. Okay? Let's go out and win this game. Let's pray. Lord, we just thank you so much. Thank you for the best example of a servant. Thank you for Dana for being my best example of a servant. Help us to spend the rest of our days serving you by serving others. We thank you so much for the gift of our spouse and our kids. In Christ's name we pray, amen.